Angela Dorothea Merkel is a retired German politician who served as the Chancellor of Germany from 2005 to 2021 and was the first woman to hold that office. She previously served as leader of the opposition from 2002 to 2005 and as the leader of the Christian Democratic Union from 2000 to 2018. During her chancellorship, Merkel was frequently referred to as the de facto leader of the European Union, EU, and the most powerful woman in the world. Beginning in 2016, she was often described as the leader of the free world. Merkel was born in Hamburg in West Germany. Her family moved to East Germany when she was an infant. Merkel obtained a doctorate in quantum chemistry in 1986 and worked as a research scientist until 1989. She then entered politics in the wake of the revolutions of 1989, briefly serving as deputy spokeswoman for the first democratically elected government of East Germany led by Lothar de Maizière. Following German reunification in 1990, Merkel was elected to the Bundestag for the state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. As the protégé of Chancellor Helmut Kohl, Merkel was appointed as Minister for Women and Youth in 1991, later becoming Minister for the Environment, Nature Conservation, and Nuclear Safety in 1994. After the CDU lost the 1998 federal election, Merkel was elected General Secretary of the party. She then became the party's first female leader, and the first female leader of the opposition, 2 years later. Following the 2005 federal election, Merkel was elected Chancellor, leading a grand coalition consisting of the CDU, the Christian Social Union, CSU, and the Social Democratic Party of Germany, SPD. She was the first woman to be elected Chancellor, and the first Chancellor of reunified Germany to have been raised in the former East Germany. In the 2009 federal election, the CDU obtained the largest share of the vote, and Merkel subsequently formed a coalition government with the Free Democratic Party, FDP, an alliance more favorable to the CDU than the Grand Coalition. In the 2013 federal election, the CDU won a landslide victory and formed a second grand coalition with the SPD, after the FDP lost all of its representation in the Bundestag. In the 2017 federal election, Merkel led the CDU to become the largest party for the fourth time, resulting in the formation of a third grand coalition with the SPD. In foreign policy, Merkel emphasized international cooperation, both in the context of the EU and NATO, and initiating the Russian reset and strengthening of Eurasian and transatlantic economic relations. In the first half of 2007, Merkel served as President of the European Council and played a central role in the negotiation of the Treaty of Lisbon and the Berlin Declaration. Merkel's governments managed the global 2007 to 2008 financial crisis and the European debt crisis. She negotiated the 2008 European Union stimulus plan, which focused on infrastructure spending and public investment to counteract the Great Recession. In domestic policy, Merkel's Energy Wende program supported the development of renewable energy sources and eventually phased out the use of nuclear power in Germany. Despite the 2014 Russian annexation of Crimea, which prompted sanctions around the world, she initiated the construction of the controversial Nord Stream 2 pipelines to Russia and protected their construction from United States sanctions imposed in 2019. Reforms to the Bundeswehr, healthcare reform, the 2010s European migrant crisis, and the COVID-19 pandemic were major issues during her chancellorship. Merkel stepped down as leader of the CDU in 2018 and did not seek a fifth term as chancellor in the 2021 federal election. Following the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, her legacy came under increased scrutiny both in Germany and abroad for her relatively good relations with Russia and increasing the German economy's dependence on Russia, as well as the downsizing of the military that occurred during her tenure. Merkel was born Angela Dorothea Kastner in 1954, in Hamburg, West Germany, the daughter of Horst Kastner, 1926–2011, Annie Kazimierz Zak, 1819, a Lutheran pastor and a native of Berlin, and his wife Herland, 1928–2019, née Jensch, born in Danzig, now Gdansk, Poland, a teacher of English and Latin. She has two younger siblings, Markus Kastner, a physicist, and Irene Kastner, an occupational therapist. In her childhood and youth, Merkel was known among her peers by the nickname Kasi, derived from her last name Kastner. Merkel is of German and Polish descent. Her paternal grandfather, Ludwig Kastner, was a German policeman of Polish ethnicity. After being captured in France during World War I, he joined the Blue Army and likely fought against Germany. He married Merkel's grandmother Margarete, a German from Berlin, and relocated to her hometown where he again worked in the police. In 1930, they Germanized the Polish name Kazimierz to Kastner. Merkel's maternal grandparents were the Danzig politician Willy Jentsch and Gertrude Alma, née Drange, a daughter of the city clerk of Elbing, now Elblag, Poland, Emil Drange. Since the mid-1990s, Merkel has publicly mentioned her Polish heritage on several occasions and described herself as a quarter Polish, but her Polish roots became better known as a result of a 2013 biography. Religion played a key role in the Kastner family's migration from West Germany to East Germany. Merkel's paternal grandfather was originally Catholic, but the entire family converted to Lutheranism during the childhood of her father, who later studied Lutheran theology in Heidelberg and Hamburg. In 1954, when Angela was just 3 months old, her father received a pastorate at the church in Quitzau, a district of Perlberg in Brandenburg, which was then in East Germany. The family moved to Templin and Merkel grew up in the countryside 90 kilometers 56 miles north of East Berlin. In 1968, Merkel joined the Free German Youth, FDJ, the official communist youth movement sponsored by the ruling Marxist, Leninist Socialist Unity Party of Germany. Membership was nominally voluntary, but those who did not join found it difficult to gain admission to higher education. She did not participate in the secular coming-of-age ceremony Jugendweihe, however, which was common in East Germany. Instead, she was confirmed. During this time, she participated in several compulsory courses on Marxism, Leninism, with her grades only being regarded as sufficient. Merkel later said that life in the GDR was sometimes almost comfortable in a certain way, because there were some things one simply couldn't influence. Merkel learned to speak Russian fluently at school, and she was awarded prizes for her proficiency in Russian and mathematics, being at the top of her class in these subjects. She completed her school education with the best possible average Abitur grade of 1.0. Academic career. Merkel continued her education at Karl Marx University, Leipzig, where she studied physics from 1973 to 1978. While a student, she participated in the reconstruction of the ruin of the Moritz-Bastei, a project students initiated to create their own club and recreation facility on campus. Such an initiative was unprecedented in the GDR of that period, and initially resisted by the university. With backing of the local leadership of the said party, the project was allowed to proceed. Near the end of her studies, Merkel sought an assistant professorship at an engineering school. As a condition for getting the job, Merkel was told she would need to agree to report on her colleagues to officers of the Stasi. Merkel declined, using the excuse that she could not keep secrets well enough to be an effective spy. Merkel worked and studied at the Central Institute for Physical Chemistry of the Academy of Sciences in Berlin-Adlershof from 1978 to 1990. At first, she and her husband squatted in MIT. At the Academy of Sciences, she became a member of its FDJ secretariat. According to her former colleagues, she openly propagated Marxism as the secretary for agitation and propaganda. However, Merkel has denied this claim and stated that she was secretary for culture, which involved activities like obtaining theater tickets and organizing talks by visiting Soviet authors. She stated, "I can only rely on my memory. If something turns out to be different, I can live with that." After being awarded a doctorate, Dr. Nat, for her thesis on quantum chemistry in 1986, she worked as a researcher and published several academic papers. In 1986, she was allowed to travel to West Germany to attend a congress. She also participated in a multi-week language course in Donetsk, in the then Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. The fall of the Berlin Wall in November 1989 served as the catalyst for Merkel's political career. Although she did not participate in the crowd celebrations the night the wall came down, 1 month later Merkel became involved in the growing democracy movement, joining the new party Democratic Beginning, Demokratischer Aufbruch, abbreviated to DA. Party leader Wolfgang Schnoor appointed her as press spokeswoman of the party in February 1990. However, Schnoor was revealed to have served as an informal co-worker for the Stasi just a few weeks ahead of the first, and only, multi-party election in 1990 and was later expelled from the party. As a result, the DA lost most of its electoral support, only managing to obtain 4 seats in the Volkskammer. However, because the DA was a member party of the Alliance for Germany, which won the election in a landslide, the DA was included in the government coalition. Merkel was appointed deputy spokesperson of this last pre-unification government under Lothar de Maizière. De Maizière was impressed with the way Merkel handled journalists investigating Schnoor's role in the Stasi. In April 1990, the DA merged with the East German Christian Democratic Union, which in turn merged with its Western counterpart after reunification. In 1994, she was promoted to the position of Minister for the Environment and Nuclear Safety, which gave her greater political visibility and a platform on which to build her personal political career. As one of Kohl's protégés and his youngest cabinet minister, she was frequently referred to by Kohl as "my girl," mein Mädchen. During this period, she was closely mentored by Kohl. Merkel was widely described as the de facto leader of the European Union throughout her tenure as Chancellor. She was named the world's second most powerful person by Forbes magazine in 2012 and 2015, following Barack Obama and Vladimir Putin respectively, the highest ranking ever achieved by a woman. On March 26, 2014, Merkel became the longest-serving incumbent head of government in the European Union. In December 2015, Merkel was named as Time magazine's Person of the Year, with the magazine's cover declaring her to be the Chancellor of the Free World. In 2018, Merkel was named the most powerful woman in the world for a record 14th time by Forbes. Following the election of Donald Trump to the U.S. presidency in 2016, Merkel was described by the New York Times as the liberal West's last defender, and as the leader of the free world by a number of commentators, including Hillary Clinton. In a 2018 survey, Merkel was found to be the most widely respected world leader. The Atlantic described her in 2019 as the world's most successful living politician, on the basis of both achievement and longevity. Harvard University President Larry Bacow described her as one of the most widely admired and broadly influential statespeople of our time. Critics have argued that Merkel's policy-making during the 2015 migrant crisis has damaged the integrity of the EU. Some have also commented that Germany's failure to meet financial commitments to NATO, Merkel's blocking of the accession of Ukraine to NATO in 2008 and the abolishment of conscription have together weakened the positions of Germany and Europe following the Russian invasion of Ukraine. In 2023, Merkel received a doctorate honoris causa from the Paris Institute of Political Sciences in recognition of her political career. Merkel has been described as having significantly shaped the political landscape of Germany, particularly the perceptions of those who grew up during her chancellorship. This demographic group has been referred to Merkel Kinder, translate children of Merkel. As a woman who is a politician from a center-right party and also a scientist, Merkel has been compared by many in the English-language press to 20th-century British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Thatcher also had a science degree from Oxford University in chemistry. Some have referred to her as Iron Lady, Iron Girl, and even the Iron Frau, all alluding to Thatcher, whose nickname was the Iron Lady. Political commentators have debated the precise extent to which their agendas are similar. Later in her tenure, Merkel acquired the nickname Mutti, a German familiar form of mother. She has also been called the Iron Chancellor, in reference to Otto von Bismarck. Al Jazeera has criticized the Iron Lady nickname for Merkel as wrong-headed, noting her pro-European stance, her efforts to combat profit-seeking speculators during the euro crisis, and her lacking Thatcher's my way or the highway attitude towards politics. In 1977, at the age of 23, Merkel, then Angela Kastner, married physics student Ulrich Merkel, born 1953, and took his surname. The couple divorced in 1982. Her second and current husband is quantum chemist and professor Joachim Sauer, who has largely avoided media attention during and after Merkel's political career. They first met in 1981 and married in 1998. Merkel has no children, but Sauer has 2 adult sons from a previous marriage. Having grown up in East Germany, Merkel learned Russian at school. She was able to speak informally to Vladimir Putin in Russian but conducted diplomatic dialogue through an interpreter. She rarely spoke English in public but delivered a small section of an address to the British Parliament in English in 2014. Merkel is a fervent football fan and was known to listen to games while in the Bundestag and to attend games of the national team in her official capacity, including Germany's 1-0 victory against Argentina in the 2014 World Cup final. Merkel has stated that her favorite film is The Legend of Paul and Paula, an East German movie released in 1973. Merkel has a fear of dogs, which developed after she was attacked by one in 1995. Vladimir Putin brought in his Labrador Retriever during a press conference in 2007. Putin claims he did not mean to scare her, though Merkel later observed, "I understand why he has to do this, to prove he's a man. He's afraid of his own weakness." Since 2017, Merkel has occasionally been seen shaking visibly on several public occasions, recovering shortly afterwards. After one such occasion, she attributed the shaking to dehydration, saying that she felt better after a drink of water. In September 2021, after evading the question for most of her career, Merkel said that she considered herself a feminist. The statement came in a conference along with Nigerian writer and feminist Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Since her retirement, Merkel has commented on the Russian invasion of Ukraine but has otherwise limited her involvement in political matters. She has instead focused on traveling, attending only feel-good events, Wohlfühltermin, in a private capacity. Merkel reportedly detested U.S. President Donald Trump, according to Politico, citing a forthcoming book by Jonathan Karl. Angela Merkel is a Lutheran member of the Evangelical Church in Berlin, Brandenburg, and Silesia Upper Lusatia, German, Evangelisch-Kirche Berlin Brandenburg Schlesische Oberlausitz, EKBO, a United Protestant, i.e. both Reformed and Lutheran, church body under the umbrella of the Protestant Church in Germany. The EKBO is a member of the Union of Protestant Churches in the EKD. Before the 2004 merger of the Evangelical Church in Berlin-Brandenburg and the Evangelical Church in Silesia Upper Lusatia, Merkel belonged to the former. In 2012, Merkel said, regarding her faith, "I am a member of the Protestant Church. I believe in God and religion is also my constant companion, and has been for the whole of my life. We as Christians should above all not be afraid of standing up for our beliefs." She also publicly declared that Germany suffers not from too much Islam but too little Christianity. Since 1991, Merkel has sat annually for sitting and standing portraits by, and interview with, Herland Koelblug. Merkel was portrayed by Swiss actress Anna Katharina in the 2012 political satire film The Dictator. Merkel features as a main character in 2 of the 3 plays that make up the Europeans trilogy, Bruges, Antwerp, and Tervuren, by Paris-based UK playwright Nick Audy, Bruges, 2014, and Tervuren, 2016. A character named Merkel, accompanied by a sidekick called Schobel, also appears as the sinister female henchman in Michael Paraskos's novel In Search of Sixpence. On the American sketch comedy series Saturday Night Live, Merkel has been parodied by Kate McKinnon. On the British sketch comedy Tracy Ullman's show, comedian Tracy Ullman has parodied Merkel to international acclaim. In 2016, a documentary film Angela Merkel, The Unexpected was produced by Broadview TV and MDR in collaboration with Arte and Das Erste. In 2024, a German TV show called Miss Merkel reimagined her as a detective. It is based on the best-selling novels by German writer David Safier and is a comedy that was a hit in Germany and then shown on public broadcaster Rai, dubbed into Italian. Merkel has been criticized for being personally present and involved at the M100 Media Award handover to Danish cartoonist Kurt Westergaard, who had triggered the Muhammad cartoons controversy. This happened at a time of fierce debate over a book by the former Deutsche Bundesbank executive and finance senator of Berlin Thilo Sarrazin, which was critical of Muslim immigration. At the same time, she condemned a planned burning of Qurans by a fundamentalist pastor in Florida. The Central Council of Muslims in Germany and the Left Party, Die Linke, as well as the German Green Party criticized the action by the center-right chancellor. The Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung newspaper wrote, "This will probably be the most explosive moment of her chancellorship so far." The term Alternativlos, German for without an alternative, which was frequently used by Angela Merkel to describe her measures addressing the European sovereign debt crisis, was named the unword of the year 2010 by a jury of linguistic scholars. The wording was criticized as undemocratic, as any discussion on Merkel's politics would thus be deemed unnecessary or undesirable. The expression is credited for the name of the political party Alternative for Germany, which was founded in 2013. During a visit of U.S. President Barack Obama in Berlin, Merkel said on June 19, 2013 in the context of the 2013 mass surveillance disclosures, "The Internet is uncharted territory for us all," German, "Das Internet ist für uns alle Neuland." This statement led to various internet memes and online mockery of Merkel. During a state visit of the Turkish Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu in January 2015, Merkel stated that Islam is part of Germany, which induced criticism from within her party. Parliamentary group leader Volker Kotter stated that Muslims belong to Germany, but Islam does not, and that Muslims should ask themselves why so many violent people refer to the Quran. At the conclusion of the May 2017 Group of Seven's leaders in Sicily, Merkel criticized American efforts to renege on earlier commitments on climate change. According to Merkel, the discussions were difficult and marred by dissent. Here we have the situation where 6 members, or even 7 if you want to add the EU, stand against one. Merkel has faced criticism for failing to take a tough line on the People's Republic of China. The Asia Times reported that unlike certain of her European counterparts, her China diplomacy has focused on non-interference in Beijing's internal affairs. As such, Merkel was reportedly furious when her foreign minister Heiko Maas received Hong Kong dissident Joshua Wong in Berlin in September 2019, a move that Beijing publicly protested. Merkel's government decided to phase out both nuclear power and coal plants and supported the European Commission's Green Deal plans. Critics blamed the European Union Emissions Trading System, EU ETS, and closure of nuclear plants for contributing to the 2021 to 2022 global energy crisis. Following the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, Merkel faced renewed criticisms that she had failed to curb Russian President Vladimir Putin's ambitions and aggression by insisting on diplomacy and détente policies. Critics argued that under her tenure, Germany and Europe was weakened by a dependency on Russian natural gas, including the Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 pipelines, and that the German military was neglected, disorganized, and underfunded. By late 2021, Germany was importing 55% of its gas, 34% of its oil, and 52% of its coal from Russia. Merkel's chancellorship has become tightly associated with the policy of Wandel durch Handel, which advocates pursuing close economic ties with authoritarian governments with the goal of inducing democratization. When the Wandel durch Handel policy came under intense domestic and international scrutiny following the Russian invasion, Merkel received much of the blame, leading Politico to write No German is more responsible for the crisis in Ukraine than Merkel. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky also blamed Merkel and then French President Nicolas Sarkozy's decision to block Ukraine from joining NATO in 2008 for the war. Merkel released a statement that she stands by her decision, later adding that the war would have broken out earlier at a greater military disadvantage for Ukraine. Thank you for watching this video.